Astrology is a very debatable science. There are some skeptics who believe only in the karma theory and feel that good karmas are the ones that give us the results of the good or the bad that we face in this lifetime. On the other hand, there are some people with such a fatalistic view who believe that anything and everything that happens in their life is only because of the results of the planets in their chart. There has to be a middle view somewhere. As per the past life theory, all that we suffer in this lifetime or that we enjoy too is the result of a part of the Sanchit karma that we have gathered in all the lifetimes that we have lived in the past. The Lord above definitely has given us some free will or a conscious that would help us to enhance this Sanchit karma or to deteriorate it. If we do deeds which are good in this lifetime, this Sanchit karma would definitely move on to a different level altogether. And if we do not do good deeds or we move towards deeds such that bad habits are developed in this lifetime, then definitely the planets would end up being affected by these bad habits, no matter how strong their position in the natal chart, and our Sanchit karma would deteriorate or would also have negative impact on that very strong placement of planets in our natal chart. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshatha. This means that one who abides by the dharma is protected by the dharma. That is, one who does what is right in a given circumstances would always be protected by dharma. Here, dharma does not mean doing the religious activities. Here, dharma means following the path which is correct and true to a given circumstances, no matter what the heart desires. Here, the desire of the heart is not to be taken into account. What needs to be taken into account is what is correct for a given pair of circumstances. In that case, a person would always, on the long run, be protected by this very dharma that he has cared for. On the other hand, what appears to be a gain on the short-term basis may prove to be a loss, a very big one at that at times, in the long run. As per shloka number 50 of chapter 26 of Faldipika, as led down by Srimanteshwara, it is said that a person who does not want others to be killed has a control over his senses, mind and behavior, earns his livelihood in a righteous manner, abides by what is laid down in the scriptures. The planets are always pleased with him and in the long run help him in life. So this sums up the basic principle of astrology on the long run. The natal chart just shows the karma that a person has bought from his past life. The person after birth adds on to the karma by doing more deeds in this lifetime. So if the deeds that he does are good in nature, such deeds will definitely add on to the power of the planets. If the planets are poorly placed in this lifetime, these deeds go on to enhance or to uplift the power of the planets so badly placed. And on the other hand, if the planets, though strongly placed in the natal chart, are associated with the present karma which are not so good in this lifetime, then their power are diminished, as we would see in the examples to follow in this lifetime. The activation theory is a very interesting theory. It goes on to say that the deeds that we do activate certain houses. From that, we can concur that the good deeds would activate the good houses, whereas the not so good deeds would activate the not so good houses. Every planet represents certain things or places or persons in our chart. And when we do bad deeds as regards to that planet, the significators of that planet, when they are harmed or are mistreated, then that very planet loses its luster in the chart and ends up giving a negative impact, or the strong impact that it may have in the chart would be highly diminished. Here, Let us take on the cases of Sri Ram and Ravan for comparison and see how good or bad karmas have led them to be a king whose rules after thousands of years is still remembered and looked upon, and how a king who was the all-conquering emperor fell from his grace. In Ravana's chart, as seen, the Lagna here was Aries and Sun remains exalted in the Lagna. It's the fifth lord of power, initiation, Ishtadevata, and also the Mantra Shakti. A highly intelligent person, Ravan was said to be the most intelligent person of his time and a strong devotee of Lord Shiva, born into the illustrious family of sage Pulasya, who was one of the 7 Saptarishis of the Yuga of Manu and also the 10 sons of Prajapati. He was a Manasputra or a mind-bound son of Brahma or Prajapati. So he comes from an extremely strong lineage, an illustrious one at that, and he was the son of Kaikasi, who was the daughter of the demon king, and the son of Rishi Vishravas, who was the son of Rishi Pulatsya. So, with a very strong family background, as we see, his grandfather was an illustrious person as depicted by an exalted son, fifth lord in the Lagna. He also had a power associated in such a manner that it is known that he used to have the planets as a step to climb onto his throne. He moved on very fast in life. He conquered all the 3 worlds, got hold of the throne of Indra, and he also, much to the detriment of this very son, conquered Sri Lanka, which at that time was said to be the city of gold, and Pushpak Vimana from his stepbrother Kubera. His father opposed the idea, but Ravan went ahead and did that. This affected this glorious son of his in a very negative manner, because father is also denoted by son, or son is the karaka of father too. Mercury, which is the lord of the 3rd and the 6th houses, is placed in the 2nd house, and Mercury is also Prarabdha because it is the lord of the 6th house, sitting right there in his house of family. In the 4th house, he has an exalted 9th lord and moon, denoting a very strong mind, and being the 9th lord, Jupiter in the 4th house gives him a very comfortable house, and he also has a strong rulership. Jupiter, the representative of scriptures, is also shows that he had a very strong hold over the scriptures. In fact, it is said in the Ravan Samhita that he was on the verge of discovering something which was lighter than ether in his own laboratories. He had laboratories where he did miraculous experiments. So his knowledge was something that would be just unparalleled or undefined, as denoted by Jupiter. But this very Jupiter got lost its luster when he worked in a dharmic manner, because Jupiter as the 9th lord is also dharma. He was very much associated. One of his vices was the lust that he felt for other women. These women were not just free women, but ladies who were betrothed to somebody, or Sita in particular, who was wife of another king. The 4th house again, Jupiter is gold in color, representing the golden color, and moon, which is the 4th lord, represents the home and the hearth. Ravan had a whole city which was golden. We move on to the 7th house. The 7th house hosts an exalted Saturn, which is the 10th lord of prestige, and which is also the 11th lord of gains, spouse and family. His wife was also one of the most beautiful and most intelligent women of her times present on this planet. A very faithful lady who was always worshipping for the safety and the increase in the name, fame, and honor of her husband. This very Saturn also represents the old and the infirm in the family. When Ravan refused to listen to his wife and the old and the wise in his kingdom, he lost the luster this Saturn had to exhibit. A very happy planet in the ninth house of scriptures, higher learnings, truth and honesty, this Ketu started working on the lower octave when the principles of higher knowledge, of honesty and truth were very much disregarded for lust. Mars, which is the Karaka of brother, courage and honor, fights, is situated in the 10th house, exalted, and so it also was a part that gave him the ability to fight and have his brothers by his side. This Mars lost so much of its ability to give him the courage to fight in the battle when Vibhishan, his younger brother, was kicked out of the kingdom just on account of being truthful and asking, rather requesting Ravan to let go of Devi Sita and hand her over to her husband so that her grace and dignity can be restored. Venus, which is the Karaka of ladies, sitting there in the 12th house of end of life, was the reason he fell from grace. Venus is also the 7th lord. When he let go of his wife for a lady, different lady, and lusted after that lady, he fell from grace. Sita and Mandodari were both very, very strong ladies, very beautiful, very exalted, and one of the ladies was let go of Mandodari in favor of the other lady, Devi Sita, who was the wife of another, and she became the reason of his downfall, his death. So the planets here show that though very strong in their own right, just one deed, and it was not just Devi Sita that he conquered, as I have said earlier, he had also very much moved into the area of his own nephew, that is Kuber's son's betrothed, and he misbehaved with her, as a result of which she gave him a shrapa or a curse, and that too was the reason of his downfall. That lady too was a very beautiful lady. She was an Apsara or a celestial being. We see that it's just a deed, just one deed or one vice in the part of a man that can bring about a man to his knees, as stated in the chart of Sri Ravan. Now let us take up the chart of Sri Ram to see that though he had to suffer a lot in the initial years of his life, and his married life though went through a turbulent phase, not just once but many times over, his rule or his kingdom is till date known as Ram Rajya, or one of the most successful kingdoms ever, and he is installed in the temples as a lord and prayed by thousands, millions the world over. Sri Ram was also born in an equally illustrious family. His ancestry was the who's who in the Kshatriya world. Aja, Dilip, Dashrath were all his ancestors. We see that he too has an exalted sun right there in his 10th house of karma. Sun, which is his second lord, is posited in the 10th house in an exalted sign of Aries. This sun gained a lot of strength when he abdicated the throne on request of his father for no reason or no fault of his, and very willingly went to the forest to live as a mendicant. Getting the blessings of his father put his son into a more powerful position. In the 4th house, we have Saturn, which is the lord of the 7th house and the 8th house. The 7th lord being the lord of public platform, and open enemies gained a lot of power when this retrograde Saturn, as represented by the 4th house as the stepmother and the throne, was abdicated with a lot of love and without any malice in the heart for the favor of the younger brother. This strengthened the Saturn to no extent, and his open enemies could now have a reason to be fearful of. Rahu in the 6th house represents enemies. This Rahu is very strongly placed, as 6th house is a very comfortable position for Rahu to be in. This represents the enemies who were definitely not humans. They were Rakshasas, whom he had to face right from being a teenager when he went into the forests with sage Vishwamitra to kill Rakshasas like Tarka, etc. The Lord of the 6th house is exalted in the Lagna, stating that his enemies would definitely also be who would be exalted or who would be very strong in their own right. One of his enemies, Ravan, also belonged to an illustrious Rishi clan, and that is shown by this exalted Jupiter. Ravan was also very well versed in the scriptures, as can be seen by the Gajkesari view present right there in the Lagna. Coming to Mars. Mars, exalted in the 7th house in Capricorn, shows brothers who loved him to no end and brothers who fought by his side. When he let go of his throne for his brother, this Mars strengthened to a great degree. Also, his love and affection shown throughout for Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrughan, and later on for Hanuman also showed and strengthened this Mars to the point that his open enemies feared him a lot, and he had the ability and the courage to fight with nothing but the Vanar Sena and his brother by his side, while his enemies had all the paraphernalia possible. Having the courage and the conviction because of such a strong Mars gave him the ability to win over his enemy. Jupiter, the 9th lord, is exalted in his Lagna. This shows a very strong inclination towards truth, honesty, administration, higher learning, preceptor and guru, and also people who taught him to move in the right direction in life. This Jupiter got very strong when he followed Vishwamitra in his teenage years into the forest to do by his abiding. Vishwamitra Rishi is also denoted by the 9th house. The 9th house is occupied by Venus, the 4th and the 11th lord. 4th lord as such holds the significations for throne, for emotions, for pleasures, for security and home. In a very exalted sign, it gave him all that and in spades. 4th lord is also the lord of the 11th house and so also denotes contacts and spouse and child. His contacts were such that none paralleled in his lifetime had such. And as spouse and wife being exalted in the 9th house, this shows that he had a spouse who was equally dharmic like him and who also followed the path of the righteous. Venus, the Karaka of wife, is exalted in the 9th house, representing dharma and administration on account of Rajasthan, that is the dharma as associated with the kingdom and the rulership. He had to let go of his wife. Having to do so, he did it with a heavy heart, but nevertheless he followed his Rajasthan. To this date, he is known as Sitaram or the husband of Lady Sita. His association with her did not end with their separation. It has been carried down centuries later, eons later. This chart reflects that though he suffered a lot in life, however, upholding what is known as dharma, he has got the better or the best of every world, and his name is known in all the corners of the world. It can be said that he was one of the avatars of Lord Vishnu and as such would definitely portray a stellar personality. However, let us not forget that even when the gods take their forms on this planet, they have to abide by the rules as set by the planet and also the laws of nature as operating on this planet. He lived up to those laws and he also led us to a path which said that you have to lead a life which was righteous. Only then would the planets become strong in the chart, move us into a different level so that we can move towards spirituality, towards our own goals, that is to merge with the one. With this, I leave a thought behind that should we consider astrology the be-all or end-all of life, and should we not look into doing our own karmas, or should we just work only on the karmas and leave everything to fate? Do write in your comments at the end of this section so that it makes for an interesting video. Thank you so much.